Hello? Hi. Happy Sunday. I am so grateful for this rain, and I am so grateful to be here with all of you today. It's a great day to be alive. Thank you for that, for everybody. That was amazing. That meditation is just what I needed. As you can imagine, I'm excited, and I'm also a little nervous about being here. So that was great. I wanted to start by telling you that the first time I heard of Myrtle Fillmore and her work was I was filling in as the daytime bartender at the Dewdrop Inn, which is a little bar in downtown Lee Summit. And I had decided that I was taking on healing my cancer naturally, and I was able to fill in there because I'd taken a little time off of work. And I had an odd-looking juice with me because I'm juice fasting at the time, and the guys at the bar are wanting to know what I'm drinking. And I'm explaining to them what I'm drinking, and I'm explaining juice fasting and what I'm working on. And one of the customers said, "You know that's why that whole Unity place is founded out there, right?" There was No, I didn't know that. And he said, there was a woman named Myrtle Fillmore who healed herself through intention, vegetarian diet, affirmation, and prayer. And I was like, "Do you go to church there?" And he did not. But he grew up around here, and he knew a lot of people that did. And he said he'd only heard good things, which was really nice. But stepping back just a little bit, before that, in 2008, I don't know, I think they might have before pictures of me. In 2008, I was much heavier than I am now. I was working as a house painter. I had a lot of health problems going on, and most of which were like depression and anxiety. I had been diagnosed as having post-traumatic stress disorder at one point. I had migraines, I had yellowing of the eyes, I had a lot of back pain, heartburn, chronic urinary tract infections, I had restless legs, I had fallen arches, knee pain. I had a lot of stuff going on. And then on top of that, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. So at that point in my life, I was self-medicating a lot, as you can imagine, with over-the-counter drugs, alcohol, and food. And so, and maybe they don't have a before picture of me. And so I had a lot going on. I was a mess. By the time I got diagnosed, I knew I needed to make changes. I just didn't really even know where to begin or where to start making changes. So, of course, I was shown away. I was found to be inoperable. I was scheduled for the hysterectomy. I was scheduled for St. Patrick's Day in 2008, which I kept joking was my lucky hysterectomy. And when I woke up in recovery, they let me know that the cancer had spread just a little further than they thought, and that they weren't able to do the surgery, and that I would have to now have the chemo and the radiation, and then maybe be able to have the surgery after that. Well, shortly after that, we realized that without insurance, I wasn't eligible for those treatments. And as you can imagine, we really felt, my family and I, my husband, my 2 teenage sons, and I all felt pretty hopeless and pretty scared, and I especially was feeling kind of backed into a corner about that. But we decided we would be open to the possibilities. We would open ourselves up to what was going to happen. So we started looking at possibilities of going out of the country, possibilities of having surgery out of the country, doing things like that, clinical trials at different universities. We checked out all different kinds of possibilities. But also, it seemed that once we were open to the possibilities, people started coming out of the woodwork. So we had, within 1 week, 3 different people told me about a woman that had healed her breast cancer naturally in Lee Summit. The first person, I didn't really take that seriously. It was an ex-brother-in-law of mine, and I didn't have a lot of love for him at the time. And then the second person was somebody that I knew from the bar. The third person was an aunt of mine. And by the time that happened, I was like, okay, third time, right? 3 times the charm? I should probably be listening to this message. So I called the number that they gave me, and I got the husband, and he was very nice. And so nice, in fact, that I drove right over. And we had a really great conversation. And within an hour or so, I left their house feeling optimistic and feeling hopeful. These were not feelings I was familiar with at the time, very much so. And I also left with the term healing diet, which was not a term that I had heard. I'd heard of lots of different kinds of diets, vegetarian, vegan, different things. I'd even experimented with different things, and I'd been on every kind of diet over the years that there was. So this was a new term for me and a new thing to put into a search engine. And you know, once you have a new word or a new term, you start getting new hits when you start doing research on things. So I left his house feeling pretty optimistic about it. Went to the grocery store, went to Hy-Vee, and it was as if they had remodeled the grocery store. Like, my experience that day was that the grocery store looked great, and that the lighting was great, and the produce department looked great, and this is what I'm going to be eating. Also, he had told me that, to step back a bit, he had told me that, and this was hugely empowering for me, he told me that if I had created my cancer by what I was thinking and what I'm eating and what I'm drinking and what I'm putting on my skin and what I'm doing, then I could heal my cancer by changing all of that. I could eat different. I could change the way I was thinking. That was new to me, but I hear. And I could change what I'm putting on my skin, and I could change what I'm doing. So I went to the grocery store with that intention of, I'm going to change everything that I do. And I walk in there, I fill a cart with produce. It turns out I really do like fruits and vegetables. I just didn't eat very much of them. It was always the side to everything. It wasn't the main dish. And I started out with the Budwig protocol, which is a diet that's a lot of fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts, and some cottage cheese mixed with flaxseed oil. But soon after that, I found the raw vegan diet, which basically means nothing cooked over 105 degrees. Some people do use dehydrators to make crackers and cookies and things like that. But it's mostly fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts. And you think that that might sound boring or that may not sound fulfilling, but you find ways of making everything, from Italian food to Mexican food to Thai food. Any of you that have been blessed to have a piece of my husband's cultured cashew cheesecake know that it's super yummy and that we're not deprived on eating this way. It was shortly after going home, I made a big fruit salad from the grocery store. I make this big fruit salad, I get on the internet, and I found all kinds of names of people and all kinds of things, all kinds of people that had healed themselves. Jay Cordage, the juice man, he had healed his colon cancer naturally. Chris Carr with Crazy Sexy Cancer had stopped multiple tumors from growing in her body. And she's made a movie, and she's gone on to do all kinds of things. Chris Rock has Chris Beat Cancer, is his website with lots of good information. George Malcolmus with Hallelujah Acres has a program where you eat all a plant-based diet that's 80% raw, 20% cooked. And everybody had these variances to it, but it was amazing because it was just like all the information was there. I just hadn't ever had the right information to plug in to the search engine before. So we're making all these changes in our diets, and I'm doing it mostly in the beginning, juices and smoothies and salads, and then my husband was like, we need cheesecake, and he started making things like that, and they came on board. Our oldest son moved out during this process. He was 19, it was time, and our youngest son was 16, and he even took on doing a short juice fast with me, not even that short, like 10 days. It was pretty amazing. And to have that support and that love in my life was amazing also. And the guys they couldn't deny that I was losing weight, that I was feeling better, that I had better energy, that I was doing better, and then they wanted to eat that way also. And I felt pretty unstoppable at that point, but also felt that it didn't really matter how long I lived. I just wanted to live better than I had been living. So it wasn't that I completely set out to heal this as much as it was just to keep going, just to keep moving forward. But it turned out that the tumor was shrinking and things were looking better and I was doing better, so we just kept going. Also, some of the things about eating a plant-based diet that turned out to be so great was that it's also great for the environment. So that's kind of a win-win situation. It's good for us and it's good for the planet. So I've been pretty happy that that's been in our experience also. And I started hosting a raw food potluck in Lee Summit at a friend of mine's place within months because I was just sure. Like I had a few days that I didn't feel well and then I felt great. So I was like, I want everybody else to know. I want everybody else to feel good. And so we started doing that, and now we have it out here. I think I'm taking too much time. I am a talker, if you haven't known. So we ran into a friend of ours, and I'm losing weight and I'm doing well, and he said, my girlfriend has a yoga studio, and she eats vegan and she does yoga, and I think that you would really be into this. Well, I had never been an exerciser, not. And I thought, well, I should probably check that out. I've lost enough weight that I'm feeling like I want to move more, and she sounds awesome. He was really bragging about her. And so we stopped by and checked the schedule. I went to yoga. Yoga was not just exercise. It turned out to be a spiritual practice. It turned out to be a lot more than that for me. And you here practice meditation and practice affirmation and practice breathing and practice namaste. And that had not been in my awareness. I was not practicing those things. There was a big change in my life. And to have that implanted of a namaste, that the divine is in me and in you, was so powerful to me that I would have a good shavasana, which is the meditation at yoga, and then I could walk there. I felt like I would float home and that I would be like, namaste to the guy in the forklift at the lumber yard, and namaste. I didn't say it. I didn't say it, I would just think it, you know. And namaste to the kid dumping the trash at the dumpster at Dairy Queen and somebody mowing their lawn, and, you know, and I would just think, this is incredible that it doesn't have to be something outside of myself, some reward later on, something else, you know, that it can be in me, it can be in you, it can be in everyone. So taking on that practice seemed to be hugely healing to me. And then as I think I'm doing great, I'm eating great, I'm looking great, I'm feeling great, I'm filled with divine love, I'm seeing that everyone else is filled with divine love, that's all going really well. Then I started having a healing dream, which is like a repetitive dream and dreams can be weird. And after I had this dream several times, I told my husband and my son, I told my friend Alberta, because we had a session together, I told my yoga instructor, I told a few people about it, and they all agreed that it was a healing dream and I needed to examine it and work on this. So dreams are weird, right? So I'm in a fairy costume. I like fairies. I'm in a fairy costume with pigtails, and I'm a little girl, and I have cowboy boots on. And now it's where it really gets weird. I am standing inside of my own uterus, and I'm hanging on to that cervical polyp that had turned into a tumor, and I'm mad, really mad. Mad. So what's this? Well, clearly, I have to find out why this little girl is so mad, and I have to get her to not be so mad, and I have to let some things go. So that's what the work that I had to do, and it didn't take that long. It was like within a few weeks of making apologies and forgiving people in my life, forgiving my parents. They're not perfect. We're not, you know, they did the best that they could do. Everybody, I had great talks with my mom on the phone. She would cry, I would cry, and I really felt some peace come over me about things that I had been hanging on to. And when I was able to have that peace come over me and feel that, it only took about 6 more weeks for my body to physically release that polyp, that tumor. And so that was pretty amazing. that I could emotionally, mentally, spiritually let go of those things, and also physically be able to release that. And then it wasn't that much longer to be able to feel like everything was going fine, and that I was healed in so many ways. And all those other things that I'd mentioned that were wrong with me all kind of went away as time went on. You know, I didn't have the headaches. I didn't have all these other problems because everything was being nourished and everything was healing in different ways. The Reverend Erin wanted me to speak today, which I was really grateful that she asked me. And she wanted me to share with you my story of doing my work and my healing story, and to also let you know what I'm doing now, which is nice. So now I'm not working as a house painter anymore, which is nice. And I am doing this. I'm speaking and writing and talking to people and helping people, and I host a couple of different potlucks, and I have an office in Lee Summit, and I also Skype with people from all around the world, which is pretty amazing to go from somebody that was house painting and filling in bartending to talking to people all over the world about their healing journey and what's going on with them. My husband has written a cookbook that he's just about ready to publish that's called Love Your Food, with over 200 recipes. And I would say, so a lot of really good things happened out of not being able to have surgery and not being able to do chemo and radiation and not being able to do a lot of things that I thought that I needed to be able to do, and opening up to all the possibilities that were available, and then letting go of whatever I needed to let go of that wasn't serving me any longer. Thank you all so much for having me talk and for being here. Namaste.